And that leads me to my conversation about Stranger Things, because they're apparently going to take this play they're making into a trilogy, which for me, it's like, I have never heard that. I mean, it's cool because I love theater. I grew up in theater. I started on the stage. I love that shit. It's so much fun. And Stranger Things is a huge IP. But now, the Duffer Brothers have pushed it forward to this whole new world of theater. They started in the UK. It's coming out right now. It came out tonight, the very first play. And of course, it's kind of a prequel series to talk about Vecna some more. And the idea is, though, they never said this before, we want to do this. We want to actually do 2 more sequels of this to fill in the gap between last season and the season you're going to get. And our idea is we're going to actually develop Vecna's whole story, where he was a kid to where he actually became Vecna, and we're going to create the whole world. And honestly, why has nobody done this before? For me, as a person that loves theater, this makes sense to me. Make trilogies. We've done it for years in film. Yes, it might be a problem for some people because, like, new ideas always top of the show, always getting new ideas, but it's also fascinating. Like, you have those actors doing that production, like, you can actually develop their characters, give them a chance on just like a one-off type thing, a million times over for years, have them do it for 2 years, which they want to do like about 1 or 2 years, move to the next one, 1 or 2 years, move to the next one, 1 or 2 years. Right now, starting in the UK, again, tonight, it debuted at London's West End. The idea is that when it's done there, then it'll come to the US, they'll develop the second one, they'll go back to London, do the second one, then move it over to the United States, back to Broadway, then do the third one, do the same thing, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But I think this is a really cool idea, and it's never been done before. But Stranger Things, The First Shadow, is the very first time the Duffer Brothers changed the industry with Stranger Things. They did a great job making this production, and honestly, I'm excited about it. I think it could be cool. And if you're going to do something, you take an IP like this and you grow it out and you make it bigger and you make it something broad and huge, and then it becomes the thing that people want to see. And I know, Mike, you have a little nasal drip thing, but Mike,
sorry, I got caught on camera blowing my nose. Fucking crucify me, Brian. Jesus Christ. You could have just said nothing, brother.
I'm coming at you. I know. I'm coming at you. It's Friday. It's Friday. I love you. So you like Stranger Things, right? So do you think this is a good idea? Because I think that this is the right IP to take this opportunity to actually broaden it out. Like I said, the investors came out tonight. They're waiting to see what they say first, but they already have the productions written. They're moving forward. The Duffer Brothers are very much involved. Is there a world where this doesn't work out? And do you think this is a good idea for theater moving forward into the future?
So the Duffer brothers are involved in this the
whole writing aspect
creatively,
yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Frickin' give me some populist theater, like anything that brings people that are just, that wouldn't usually go to the theater into the theater. Yeah, that's great, because you know what? You show up because of something that's like a massive phenomenon like this. Okay, so you go for that. Next time you're going when they're doing some seasonal Shakespeare production or some Oscar Wilde adaptation that's got some crazy political slant. Get people into the theater. I'm happy about it. Like, yeah, like I can actually see this particularly because I think that the Duffer Brothers have a great handle on story. And they've got the kind of capital behind them that probably they said that this is a well-financed the first show at least, right?
Big time. Yeah, and it takes place in the 1950s, Mike, and everybody's young, Hopper's young.
What does that tell you, Brian? Like, you've seen plenty of stage shows in your time. Stage shows where they spend a lot of money on the production. Do they look cool?
Yeah, they do. You can make it. I was worried about this a little bit, Mike, because I'm like, Stranger Things is very heavy on the visual effects. We just showed pictures of Vecna like fucking flying through the air and shit like that. So, but for stage, that's the hardest part, because to make those practical effects, it's hard. But also, it's very intriguing because it can be done, Mike, and it can be done even better than doing special effects.
When you're spending $30 million or whatever, when you're spending a bunch of money for a live production, you can make it look terrific. And the other thing is that a live audience, they're willing to suspend disbelief in a way that people that watching just a TV show aren't. I'm fully about this. I don't know if that's a hot take, but I would watch it. I suspect that it's going to be too expensive for me to want to get good seats if it ever comes past my place in Madison, Wisconsin. Like we'll see.
Mike,
I could, I could take a trip to Chicago for this.
Well, now it's Broadway. They're not sure yet. But this is where I go to Lexi, because Lexi has a special effects background. She's done a lot of that before. She went to school for that. She's also been, involved with a lot of productions. And I think that Lexi might be able to shed some light. Lexi, you hear about this production. Do you think they have the opportunity to make this something special, that they could do a trilogy? And is that something that you think they should do with a property and IP like Stranger Things?
Well, I think if they want it to succeed, the first answer to go to is they need to get George Santos involved, because George Santos had a very successful, $100,000 stage production that he did of Spider-Man, right? So
what? Wait, what? I have no idea what you're talking about.
Neither does anybody else apparently. Anyway, so I think it's as stupid as fuck.
Oh, shit.
I think Stranger Things is stupid as fuck.
You don't like it at all?
No, I hated it day one. I hated the first episode.
It's very nostalgic. It's very nostalgia forward.
It's very nostalgic. It's so fucking nostalgic. It's uncreative. Like, there's nostalgia, and then there's literally just copying and pasting. And that show is, I watched a bunch of Stephen King and a bunch of 80s, like, fucking Tales from the Crypt, not Tales from the Crypt, but Tales from the Dark Side. Very Tales from the Dark Side, very like, those kind of shows. Like, it's very much, I grew up in this time period. There are way too many like shots of like just nostalgia shots. Like, there's too many nostalgia shots in the show. There's too many posters on the wall that wouldn't fucking be on the wall. There's too many products in people's rooms that wouldn't be in people's rooms. I fucking hate the show.
Are they going to have time for that in a live show?
That's a great question.
I think like that the idea of it even getting to the point of being in a live show, I'm like, what is this show? How has this show grown to the extent that it has, that this is where we're at? Like,
Alexi, as a special effects person, do you think that'd be a good challenge though?
I don't know. Half the show's fucking CG. Like,
I know, but could you do better those CG? Could you do better?
I mean, if most of your show is a blue screen, I mean, what am I supposed to say? Like, the whole underworld or whatever it is, I mean, it's 90%, green screen work. So
yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of CG,
some of those guys with the scary face. What did they call them? They were, K-wide up monsters. They definitely had some practical effects.
Demogorgons.
Demogorgons. Yeah, thank you.
Demogorgons. There's obviously
nobody wants to see it in the chat, by the way.
In the show, like it's people like that are gonna lose their fucking minds if someone doesn't do practical and CG. Like, that's the demographic that this show is for or whatever. But I think like
Demogorgon.
Exactly.
That was a Spider-Man thing, I think.
I think like this show, obviously the demographic that likes this show is kids. And I think in that regard, I'm okay with it. And I think if, as far as a show for kids, cool. I'm glad they have something fun. I'm glad they have something that's in their demographic is at least original. And I'm glad they have something horror related that's, fun for them. Is it for me? No, because I grew up with better content. And I know better content, and I really don't think it's a very well-written show. But I think for younger kids, like, cool. Like, I'm glad you have something. I grew up watching Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark and all that kind of shit. And like, there's a lot.
I'm still Are You Afraid of the Dark stan. So yeah.
The writing on those shows were better.
Oh, good.
Like, I just think those shows were better writing, and I think there was like a better quality. And I think like single-serving programming is better too. Whereas this show is just like, there's so much, like you can't come into season 2 and like start in the middle.
Right.
Like it's an impossibility. You have to watch from the start. You have to like follow this progressive story continuously through it. And so if this stage play is trying to tell you that you also have to be where it is, like, I hate this. I hate how connected everything is.
You have to watch it all. It's all controlled. You have to watch it all. You have to see it all.
So I don't want to watch something that connected. If it was its own
good question, Queen.
thing, then that's 100%. Fine. But it can't possibly be its own thing because of how interweaving and interconnected Stranger Things is. And the way that they're doing their seasons now with like an hour and a half, like 2 hour long episodes, and it's like they're movie length episodes, and I'm just like, guys, like fuck off. Like I don't know. I'm not a big fan of modern television as a whole. I know that like it's a shame because we're so, like, you keep asking me about effects. We're so good with effects now.
Yeah.
Like my
That's
thing
what I'm
with
saying. You're good with effects.
the modern world, if you're watching a film, like I've said this in the last like 10, 15 years in particular, if you're watching a film made in the last 10, 15 years and your complaints are audio, visual effects, the way it's shot, that movie is just a fucking failure. Like, because all of those aspects of film are so flawless in this day and age. Like, we have our CG down so hard that nobody knows that movies are CG. Like, all these dramas are full of CG. All the backgrounds in all these dramas are like CG. Like everything, like the post. The post is almost all CG. You don't realize it. It's a movie about newspapers.
Isn't it a great challenge for a play production, though, Lexi? Isn't it a great challenge?
So, yeah, like it is. Like, but also, you know, it's one of those things too where you have to realize like how far along we've come with our stuff. We're so far along with our visual medium that we can do anything. I mean, look at Avatar. Look at the 500,000.
We're getting three more.
$500 million.
I'm
not excited about Avatar. I don't like
come back with some of that third day.
My point is that the effects in them, the money that is spent on those, every time you do one of those, it puts you in a point that, you know, you're so much more capable. Like every time, like, you know, like every time George Lucas fucked with some CG in a movie, that set the groundwork for somebody else in the future to have better CG.
From the digital
right.
angle. That's true.
Yeah,
are they still making that progress on the analog?
I mean, you know, where we are at now, which is the problem that you're all running into in your industry, is that they want to turn you into digital actors, right?
That's what it is. Everyone's like animated versions, CG versions, AI versions. It's a huge thing right now.
So we've got our backgrounds down, we've got our sets down, we've got everything down. We're able to basically do all of that in the computer, right? So pretty soon we don't need you, right? And that's where we're at with it all. But we fucking write terrible stories. We just keep taking IPs and strapping those to all of this beautiful, expensive stuff. We're not creative anymore. We're not creative with what we have. So we have all the technology and all the medium and all of this wonderful stuff that we can do, and we're taking it and we're copy pasting soulless media that we've already done 50 times over and over and over and over. They are like, oh, I'm making my own original show, and your own original show is a nostalgia masturbation piece. And they're not the only ones guilty of it. Everything in the last 10 years has been a nostalgia masturbation.
Nostalgia masturbation is going to make money every time.
Nostalgia masturbation always makes money.
But you know, it's funny too, because like my mom growing up, I would watch movies with her, and she would like, they were like from her time period, and she'd be like, this movie's ridiculous, right? And I'd be like, I like this movie, you know, when I'm like 8 years old.
But it can still be good.
But she's like aware of the flaws in it, right? And now I'm an adult and I'm watching content that I'm like, I grew up in the 80s and I grew up in the 90s. I'm like, this is so fucking inaccurate. I'm like, this is so stupid. This is so whatever. And it's like, it's hard for me to watch it. But it's like, obviously a 13-year-old's not struggling with those things. So it's like...
But Lexi, I feel like this is I feel like they've made so much money off this production that they're just trying to find ways to make more.
Of course they have. Dude, you should go to Halloween Horror Nights when they have their fucking the Stranger Things shit.
Nuts. They go nuts.
The line for that fucking thing. I didn't even go into the fucking haunt because the line for it was like 3.5, 4 hours. I was like, I ain't going in that.
Yeah, it can be 3 hours. Yeah, easily.
Too scary for me. I couldn't even handle it.
Line for it.
Don't know about that nostalgia. But Ron. Okay, so I go to your side right here, Ron. So, have you watched Stranger Things? And I know you like theater. So, do you think that this is a good opportunity to take a production? Because again, we could argue about like, you know, taking an idea that's done fucking great on TV and throwing it on stage. Is that a money grab? Is it not a money grab? But this is a whole revolutionary thing, Ron. Taking a production that's made great on TV. They've done 4 seasons. They're going to the 5th season. Then we're going to do 3 separate productions on stage. Is this the best choice for the first time we do this? Do you want to see this, or do you think this might fuck up the future for this kind of opportunity for productions?
To answer your question first, yes, I do watch Stranger Things. I have an 11-year-old, so when it was actually airing, he was 8, 9, and 10. That's
awesome.
Yes,
perfect for both of you guys.
Yes. I love the idea. I think it's going to be something that can actually be looked at as separate, even though it's the same show. And I am fascinated by what production designers can do in a play to make you believe an effect or a stunt or something. I'm fascinated by that. But CGI is just, it's great. It's in your face. It's what you expect. It's blah, blah, blah. It blows up. I love seeing an actor on a cable just coming through the audience. And, it's just, there is to me a certain wow factor, or people dropping into, a pit in the stage is amazing. Where'd they go? I like the idea a lot. And I think, I think it's going to be the start of possibly something bigger.
Well, Ron, that's right. I agree with you a lot of times. Cause I came from theater. The first time I acted, I didn't want to act. I had a friend convince me to stay for rehearsal because he needed to ride home. And then I ended up auditioning for a play, and I fell in love with theater. Shout out Jordan Sell. And I fell in love with theater. And for me, it's a fun challenge. And I get the idea of taking an IP and like forcing it on the stage. That sucks sometimes. But I also think that there's a lot of possibilities for this. I think that's why the Duffer Brothers won it. But I also think that, yeah, they could fuck the whole thing up. I love theater. And I think that theater needs a big win right now. Yeah. And if this brings people to the stage to save theater, I think that's good.
Absolutely.
But for me, it's like, I'm shocked that Stranger Things is the first one to do this. How is this a thing? How has it ever happened before? How's somebody because you have Hamilton did so well. Of course it's history, but why would you not try to figure out another way to do like a sequel to this? Ron, do you think that is it shocking that Stranger Things out of all the productions is the first one to do this?
I think it's a very odd choice, extremely odd. I'm just wondering if it was more like hey, let's do this, let's do that, let's do this. And the cuts on things and people getting things was more with Stranger Things because they really wanted to push theirs forward, almost like paying for your product out. Yeah, but it is odd. It's very strange. However, it's a very timely thing for that, and the kids will be teens and stuff that love this thing now because he's 11. So
John Torbett.
I see it. Yes, I see it having wings.
I think this is where the three of us can go back and forth, but because we have the idea, like Lexi's saying, like the idea of like how are we going to take a production like this and fucking exploit it, right? But also, Lexi, come on, the three of us we're together right now. Three of us are together. It could be good for theater, could it, Lexi? Could it be good? Tell Ron right now. Could it? Come on.
I don't know. I like single serving play. I don't like trilogy play. So if I go see this play, because first of all, we're all familiar with play. Play has intermission, and you get dressed up and you go to it. You're supposed to get dressed up. I don't know what's happened. People stop fucking dressing up for play. You go fuck yourself.
You
get dressed up when you go to the theater. Do it. I don't know why you don't get dressed up to go to theater. So
I dress up for Cruise Control,
but you get what I'm saying. You get dressed up. You get dressed up to go to the theater. You get
I love you all. That's a personal choice. That's all I'm saying.
When I go see this play, and there's another two parts to it. So what? It's to get dressed up and go out and fucking play is also like an event, right? Like going to the play,
it's a big event.
Whatever. So it's not something you go to 2 nights in a row. Oh shit, there's a sequel. Well, we're gonna have to go next week.
Is that how they're gonna release them?
You know what I mean?
2 to 3 years. They said in between 2 to 3 years.
I think it's fun. I think it sounds fun.
I think it'd be fun. Lexi, I think you need to be on this production, Lexi. That's all I'm saying. I think out of all this conversation, I think you should do special effects, and I think it will sell you on the production. That's all I'm saying. You should be on it. You should make it good, so it translates from film to fucking stage. It's a whole different aspect.
I did Sweeney Todd.
It's usually stage. I know. That's fucking great. I fucking love Sweeney Todd.
But once again, I like Sweeney Todd. The beauty of Sweeney Todd was when I did a stage production of Sweeney Todd, and they were like, we're gonna do the stage production of Sweeney Todd, but they were all hot and heavy for the movie, and they were like, we want to do blood effects, and I said, no, you want to do the ribbon. And they were like, no, we don't. We want blood effects. And I was like, no one's going to see that shit from the fucking audience. And I was like, the ribbon is beautiful.
There you go, Queen.
I'm like, you know what I'm talking about, right? In the original play of Sweeney Todd, they use a ribbon for the throat slits.
Yeah, the throat.
Oh,
yeah, when they slice the throat.
It's so good. And I was like, I fucking
It's a
love
stage
that.
effect.
It's a stage effect. And I was like, you need to keep that. I'm like, you need to keep that in there. And I'm like, it's a beautiful stage effect. And he wanted like fucking apparatuses and stuff. And Jacob's over here because he's like, in effects school. And he's like, well, we're going to build this. We're going to do that. And I'm like over here and I'm old school.
Shout out to K. Jacob.
And I'm like, nah, man. I'm like, we're going to do this and we're going to do that and we're going to whatever. And then it was like, after that, I went and worked on Les Mis. And that was such a raw, natural theater experience. And I was like, this is what I miss. And I grew up in musical theater. Like I was a singer and I stage production. And like, I love the purity of theater and I love the raw visceral experience. And then, stage makeup, people are like, oh, I want to do my makeup. I'm like, you got to make this shit heavy. You got to make it look weird. You look weird when you have stage makeup in front of a person and stuff like that. People don't realize like how stage is so different than TV and theater and stuff like that. And so that whole idea of transferring something like Stranger Things that's just so manufactured, like it's not even a TV show, it's a heavily processed manufactured TV show that uses heavy filters, heavy saturations, heavy everything. Like there's very little to that show. There's a lot of creative input. Natural.
It's not all executives. It's not all executives and producers though.
I mean,
like
I have seen,
despite the fact that it's nostalgia heavy, like that, a lot of this is the Duffer Brothers and the way they feel is nostalgic.
I saw the Broadway production.
I believe in them.
I believe in them. Phantom when I was a kid growing up in Toronto. And I did some shit in that I just did not think was possible. They brought lightning out on the stage and shit like that.
That's what I'm saying.
And I'm like, that shit blew my mind as a kid. And I never thought you would do things like that. Like, so I know that you can make an entire theater come alive. You can have every single aspect of that theater move and shake and like you can really bring it to life.
Maybe someday, Rachel.
But I don't think 3 parts.
Taco Bell.
I don't think 3 parts is the way to go. And I don't think like
it could be cool.
Stranger Things is the product to do it with. I think maybe write an original piece that's designed for this, or I don't know what. There's a lot of really creative stuff being done in theater right now, like things like Six. That was a creative piece. That's not based on anything.
I saw that one.
Yeah. I don't really care so much about the Beetlejuice one because that's still based on an IP. I like to see more original pieces. So like, I don't really like people going and grabbing that shit.
Six is regardless. What I want to see live. Yeah.
Regardless of it, it's monumental. It's changing. It's game changing for theater, and it's happening. I mean, of course, they haven't officially. They leaked this today before it actually debuted. So it makes me think that the idea is going to happen. It's going to move forward, and hopefully hopefully it's a good thing for theater because theater needs a big win, especially after COVID, because they almost killed theater. And for me, I'm like, well, take that IP that's huge, make it into theater, and then hopefully it can save theater so people do not give up on that because it is a great avenue for entertainment. I do never want to leave.
Yo, player. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and hit the bell to be notified when we are live. And if you are able to join our Patreon, please join. Because the Pep Star needs more snickety snacks. Because I'm hungry. Holla back. Love y'all.